They always told me not to ask about my grandfather. I thought it was just one of those family things, some bad blood, maybe a falling out. But every time I mentioned the word grandfather, my dad's mood would shift. His eyes turned cold. His jaw clenched like it might snap. And always, he'd say the same thing, voice low and final. He's no longer part of this family, period. If creepy family secrets and dark stories are your thing, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to Clara After Dark. You won't want to miss what's coming next. I only saw Grandpa twice when I was little, and even those memories are foggy. Just flashes, the sharp scent of charred meat, smoke drifting from a thick wooden pipe, and this oppressive silence that wrapped around him like a second skin. I remember thinking how huge he looked, almost inhumanly large, but maybe I was just small back then. Mom always pulled me away when he came near, with a grip that said, "Don't ask questions." Years passed, life moved on, but some things, they stay with you, buried just under the skin. When I turned 18 and moved out for college, I stumbled across a letter while rummaging through Dad's old paperwork. An old yellow envelope with a return address from a place called Lodell. The senders, George and Marilyn Arter. At first, the names didn't mean anything to me, but George carried a smell. That smoky, greasy smell that made my stomach turn. I don't know why I went. Call it curiosity, rebellion, or something deeper. Maybe some twisted instinct I didn't understand. But during winter break, I took the bus north to Lodula, speck on the map barely clinging to existence. One gas station, a tired-looking diner, and rows of old houses that looked like they were trying to forget something. I walked the last stretch, past skeletal trees and gravel roads, until I reached it, a faded red house standing alone at the edge of silence. I didn't even knock. The door swung open before I could raise my hand. "Good Lord Almighty," the man roared, grinning wide with cracked yellow teeth. "Look who it is, my favorite grandson. God, it's good to see ya." He was enormous. He filled the doorway, the flannel shirt stretched tight across his gut, the ever-present pipe clamped between lips too wide. He hugged me with enough force to rattle my bones, and just behind him stood Grandma Marilyn. She looked like a shadow wearing a sweater, fragile, sunken. Her smile didn't quite reach. Her eyes, when she looked at me, there was no warmth, only a silent question. "What have you done?" Grandpa herded me inside, his massive hand clapping my back so hard I stumbled. The air was thick with smoke and something else, something coppery, like old blood. The furniture creaked under his weight. Curtains hung heavy, keeping the daylight out like it wasn't welcome. We drank tea in the living room. Grandma's hands shook as she served it. That first day was fine, I guess. Grandpa was loud, boisterous, funny even. He had this way of pulling you into his world. He told stories, made me laugh, even showed me how to whittle wood. Kids from the neighborhood stopped by after school to hear his stories, gathering around him like he was Santa Claus and a prophet rolled into one. But there was something else, something wrong. The first red flag was his appetite. I've never seen anyone eat like that, ever, not even close. Breakfast wasn't a meal, it was a ritual. A pound of bacon, 2 loaves of bread, a dozen eggs, then more. Lunch, an entire rotisserie chicken, mashed potatoes by the bucket, gravy poured like water, and dinner. God, dinner looked like a medieval feast. He didn't eat, he consumed, loudly, sloppily. His jaw moved like a machine, grinding, swallowing, then more. Plates stacked up around him like a fortress. He'd lick them clean, then grunt for more. Grandma would just nod and cook, her face pale and blank. I tried to joke once, saying, "You always eat like this." He grunted, patting his belly. "Big man needs big meals." I laughed. I shouldn't have, because this was only the beginning. Lodell was smaller than any town I'd ever seen, just one gas station, one diner, one grocery store. Houses sat scattered like teeth kicked from a jaw, each one slouched in silence. The bus dropped me off at the edge of town. From there, I walked. My legs carried me down a gravel path lined with bare trees. At the end of it stood a red wooden house, quiet and old, waiting. He opened the door before I could even knock. "Good Lord Almighty," he bellowed, arms wide. "Look who it is. My favorite grandson. God, it's good to see ya." Before we continue, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Clara After Dark. If you're into true horror stories and terrifying truths that keep you up at night, this is where you belong. Hit that bell too, so you never miss a nightmare. Grandpa was massive. He filled the entire doorway. His brown flannel shirt clung to his belly, the collar stained yellow. A thick pipe was clenched between his teeth like it had grown there. When he hugged me, the air rushed out of my lungs. Behind him stood Grandma. Her hair was pinned neatly, her cardigan draped like it hung on wire. Her smile didn't touch her eyes. When we made eye contact, her look said, "What have you done?" Grandpa clapped my back, nearly knocking me over, and dragged me inside. The house smelled like smoke, greasy meat, and something else. Something sour and old. He gave me a tour, talking loud and fast, slapping walls and chuckling. Grandma brought tea, her hands trembling. The curtains were thick, swallowing daylight, and the furniture looked older than both of them. At first, it wasn't so bad. Grandpa was a whirlwind. He smoked constantly, joked, taught me how to whittle wood. He told stories that made the neighborhood kids hang on every word. 2 or 3 of them would drop by in the evenings, just to sit at his feet and listen. I started to think maybe Dad had it wrong. Maybe Grandpa was just eccentric, a little intense, but not dangerous. But there was one thing I couldn't ignore: his appetite. He ate like a man possessed. Bacon by the pound, bread by the loaf, whole pies in a single sitting. I once watched him inhale an entire rotisserie chicken and a tray of cornbread before dinner. He chewed with his mouth open, sweating, grunting, licking his fingers like he couldn't stand to waste a drop. "You always eat like this?" I asked, trying to joke. He grunted around his pipe and thumped his gut. "Big man needs big meals." At first, I figured maybe it was just a quirk. But then I started watching closer. He didn't do anything else. Just sat in that kitchen chair all day, waiting for Grandma to bring more food. And she did. Plate after plate. Pork chops, sausages, steaks, gravy poured like soup. He'd devour it all. No pause, no satisfaction, just hunger. It wasn't normal. But everything changed the night Grandma pulled me aside and whispered, "You need to leave tomorrow, first thing, while he's still asleep." One night, while Grandpa's snoring echoed like a bear in the next room, Grandma pulled me into the hallway. Her face was pale. Her lips were cracked. Her eyes looked like they hadn't rested in days. "You have to leave," she whispered, "while he's still asleep. Tomorrow morning, don't wait." I wanted to ask why, but then I heard footsteps, heavy ones. Grandpa emerged from the shadows. His pipe dangled from his mouth. His eyes were hard to read. "Everything all right?" he asked, voice flat. Grandma answered too quickly. "Just telling stories from my childhood." He stared at us in silence. For the first time, I felt real fear. The red glow of his pipe lit up the hallway. His breathing was loud. His body filled the space. "This house has stories," he mumbled before turning back to his room. I barely slept that night. His snoring came through the walls. My mind was spinning with questions. Why run? What was she so afraid of? The next morning, Grandpa was already at the table. His breathing was shallow. His lips were wet. "Where's that woman? I'm starving." Soon, Grandma came home with 3 big bags of groceries. She rushed into the kitchen, her face pale, her hands shaking. Grandpa watched her anxiously, his fingers tapping the table. He was trembling, hungry. I couldn't eat. I just sat there, watching him devour everything: roast meat, thick soup, fried sausages. The sounds of his chewing filled the room. His skin was damp, his breathing loud. He never looked full. I left the house later to clear my head, but at the store, I overheard something that froze me in place. A woman was talking to the cashier. Her voice was low and anxious. "Ben's pig is gone again." "That's the sixth one. Coyote or a bear?" the cashier asked. I stepped closer. "Excuse me, animals have been disappearing." The woman looked at me for a second. "You're not from here, are you?" She leaned in, started with pigs, then goats, chickens, even dogs. All they found were bones, clean, like they were sucked dry. No blood, no sound, no tracks. That's when it hit me. The sinking feeling in my stomach. They didn't know who did it, but I had a terrifying guess, and it made my blood run cold. That night, the house felt colder. The fridge was empty. Grandpa sat at the table, licking his lips and breathing hard. "Where's that woman?" "Starving over here," he muttered. Grandma returned with 3 heavy grocery bags. She hurried inside and unpacked them. Plates piled high with pork chops, sausages, whole chickens, and gravy boats the size of bowls. Grandpa inhaled it all, groaning with pleasure. His greasy face gleamed under the kitchen light. He didn't chew so much as engulf, as if tasting was just for show. I watched, nauseous. His appetite was endless. All day, he barely moved from his chair, smoking and waiting for the next massive meal. I couldn't understand how someone that old, so overweight, and chain-smoking could even still be alive. But there he was, devouring plate after plate, sweat dripping down his face. The next morning, I went to the store to clear my head. At the counter, 2 locals whispered anxiously. "Ben's lost another pig," said a woman. "6th one. Coyote bear?" the clerk asked. "Where have you seen a coyote or bear around here?" she replied bitterly. I stepped closer. "Are animals really disappearing? You knew here." The woman sighed. "First the pigs, then goats, chickens, even dogs. Nothing left but bones, gnawed clean, like something sucked out the brains. But no tracks, no blood. No one's seen anything that could do that." I couldn't breathe. My skin crawled. They didn't know what was doing it, but I did. And Grandpa, he was still laughing, smoking, telling stories to neighborhood kids. One evening, on the porch, a girl about 10 asked him, "Mr. Arter, are you ever scared?" He smiled slowly, eyes glinting. "Only when the meat runs out," he said, laughing. The kids laughed with him. I didn't. Grandpa stayed glued to his chair. Even when we went to bed, he didn't move. Around 3 a.m., I woke up thirsty and switched on the kitchen light. I nearly had a heart attack. There he was, trembling and staring at the same spot. His skin was pale and translucent, veins purple beneath. His pipe was gone. Seeing him like that made me want to crawl into a corner. At first, I thought he was dead. Then he shook harder, sweat beading on his forehead. "Grandpa, you okay?" I whispered. "Get me food, boy," he said. His voice held no warmth, only threat, something not human. "I'll go in the morning. Just sleep, Grandpa," I said. "Get me food." He didn't look up. I edged past him, turned off the light, and left the kitchen. All night, strange sounds came from below, growls, wet slithering, the front door creaking. At dawn, Grandpa was gone. The door was ajar. Grandma stood behind me. Her eyes were red with fury and regret. "Go, grandson, now. He won't be satisfied with store food. Pack your things and leave." But why? What's wrong with Grandpa? How can he eat so much? You don't want to know what happens when he stops eating. She turned to leave, but froze at my next question. Why do you stay with him? If no one controls him, it gets much worse. The town of Lodell didn't sleep that night. Word spread fast. A local boy had vanished. Only his bones were found behind a churchyard, picked clean, not a trace of skin or blood. No animal could have done that, and I knew what did. I ran through town in a fog, my stomach twisted with horror. At the house, Grandpa sat on the porch like nothing had happened, pipe clenched in his teeth, shirt stained darker than ever. His eyes were glassy, his skin looked raw, like overcooked meat left too long in the sun. He didn't even glance my way. "Boy," he rasped through the smoke. "Fetch me something from the store." His voice didn't sound right. Slurred, tired, strained. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Clara After Dark for more chilling tales every week. Hit that bell so you never miss what waits in the shadows. I mumbled something, turned, and stepped inside. My hands were shaking. I moved automatically, grabbing my bag and stuffing my clothes inside. I had to leave. Had to. Then I heard it. Raised voices. "The kids are cumin tonight," Grandpa snapped. "No." Grandma's voice cracked. "Not again. I'll call the police." "You won't do anything," he growled. "I won't let you feed on them again." Her scream pierced my chest, not in fear, but fury. I froze. I didn't want to understand what she meant. I didn't want any part of this, but I stayed. I don't know why. Maybe to protect the kids. Maybe because part of me still hoped it wasn't real. As the sun sank below the trees, dusk swallowed the town, and the children came. They walked up the gravel path in twos and threes, smiles on their faces, unaware. Grandpa waited on the porch, his body grotesquely swollen. He couldn't even stand now. His arms dangled like sacks of meat. His neck was thick and pulsing. Blisters dotted his skin. His pipe had fallen somewhere, forgotten. One by one, the children gathered around his feet. Grandma ran outside, crying, "Please, go home. You don't understand. He's not what you think he is." "Just one story, Mrs. Arter." A girl begged, "Please." "No," she screamed. "He's sick. Go home." "He's not." "Let him be," Grandpa croaked, suddenly behind her. The door slammed shut behind the last child. I stood by the window, watching in horror. Grandpa's face twitched. His mouth widened. His chest heaved. He looked more creature than man. The kids sat nervously in front of him, their small hands clasped in their laps. "Mr. Arter," one boy said, "don't tell our parents we're here. They said not to come. But we wanted to see you." Grandpa smiled. His eyes gleamed wet. "I won't tell," he whispered. Then his body lurched. His shirt split at the seams. His mouth opened impossibly wide. Bones cracked. Flesh warped. He fell from the chair, and the monster came out. I don't remember climbing the attic stairs. I only remember the sound wet, crunching, slick, like someone elbow deep in a pot roast. Then came the screams, sharp, young, full of panic. They didn't last long. I hid behind a pile of moth-eaten blankets, curled into a ball so tight I thought my spine would snap. The attic was thick with dust and old grief. The floorboards creaked with every movement below, each groan echoing up through my bones. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, to run, to do something, but all I did was listen to the chewing, the swallowing, the soft gurgle of something not human enjoying its meal. Then silence, not peace, not calm, just absence. And that was worse. I didn't realize I'd been crying until my shirt stuck to my face. Every breath I took felt like fire in my chest. I was sure he'd smell me, find me, drag me down. That's when the sniffing started. Slow, wet, intentional. Boy, the voice wasn't Grandpa's, not anymore. It was deep gurgling, layered like a dozen voices stacked on top of each other, all hungry. "Come back. I smell you. Your family." His steps were wet thuds now, not footsteps. Something huge scraped along the floorboards. I heard the kitchen chairs crash, a door swing open, Then slam, he was searching, tasting the air, muttering things I couldn't understand. The attic door creaked open. My lungs stopped working. Slurping sounds, then a whisper, too close. "You smell like your mother." Tender. I bit into my arm to keep from screaming. Then silence again. But it wasn't over. I waited. An hour, 2, maybe more. Time meant nothing anymore. The house groaned like it was alive. At some point, I passed out. When I woke, it was morning. Light streamed through the slats in the attic walls. The smell hit me first: blood, smoke, something chemical and wrong. I stumbled downstairs. The hallway was painted in red. Bones, shattered glasses, small shoes, a broken locket. Grandpa was gone. Only a wide smear of something greasy and dark remained, leading to the front door. He'd left it open, just like that first morning. I walked outside barefoot, dazed. The trees looked the same. The sky was bright. Birds sang. It felt like the world had no idea what had happened. Or maybe it did. I ran until I saw pavement. Then farther. A farmer in a pickup nearly hit me. He stopped, jumped out, shouted something I didn't hear. I collapsed. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, hooked to machines. They said I'd been missing 3 days, that I had hypothermia, dehydration, trauma, but no one asked about the kids. I didn't bring it up. I said I was lost, disoriented, no memory. And they believed me, because the alternative was impossible. But I knew the truth. I saw it, I heard it, and it wasn't over. I stayed in that attic until the sun rose, not because I thought I was safe, but because I was too scared to move. My body was locked in place, muscles tight, breaths shallow. Every sound below made my heart jump. Every groan, every sniff, every thump against the floorboards. I waited for him to come back, waited for that gurgling voice to say my name again, but it never did. When I finally dared to move, the house was quiet, still, like the air had been drained out. I tiptoed to the attic door and listened. Nothing. No voices. No breathing. No dragging limbs. Just silence. I climbed down carefully, one step at a time. My legs trembled. My shirt stuck to my skin. I didn't want to look, but I had to. The kitchen was painted in red. Blood streaked the floor, the walls, even the ceiling fan. Plates were shattered. Chairs overturned. Bones, small bones, were piled near the fireplace. Bits of clothing, a little shoe. I gagged, dropped to my knees, vomited until there was nothing left. Grandpa was gone. The only thing he left behind was a thick, greasy stain on the floor, like something had melted into the wood. The smell was unbearable, sickly, sweet, and coppery, mixed with old smoke and bile. I couldn't stay in that house another second, so I ran. I didn't stop running until I hit pavement. I didn't stop when a truck almost hit me. Didn't stop when I collapsed on someone's lawn, screaming for help. The police found me hours later, barefoot, shaking, covered in someone else's blood. I didn't tell them the truth. How could I? What would I even say? My grandfather turned into a monster and ate 6 kids. I just said I was visiting my grandparents, that something terrible happened. I left out everything that would get me locked in a padded room. They didn't find Grandpa. They didn't find Grandma. Just bones, teeth, blood, and me. They ruled it an animal attack. Maybe a bear. Maybe a pack of coyotes. The town mourned. But no one questioned it too deeply. No one ever does. I went back home, or the place I thought was home. I barely slept. When I did, I dreamed of his face splitting open, of his voice echoing in the dark. Feed me. I couldn't eat, couldn't be around meat. Even the smell made me sick. Every shadow looked like him. Every stranger's voice sounded like his laugh. Then, one morning, over breakfast, I looked at Dad and I asked him, "Why didn't you tell me?" He stared into his coffee for a long time. His hand trembled. "I prayed you'd never go there," he said finally. "You weren't supposed to know. You weren't supposed to remember that name." I asked him what he meant. That's when everything I thought I knew about myself collapsed. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a second. I sat curled in a corner of the attic, clutching the broken flashlight like it could protect me. Every creak of the wood below made my heart stop. I thought about my parents, about the screams I heard, about the blood. I thought about my sister and her hollow black eyes. But mostly, I thought about that thing in the basement, the shadow with no face. As soon as the morning light strengthened, I crept out of the attic. The house was deadly quiet. The walls seemed to hum, like the very structure was alive and angry I'd survived the night. I made my way down the stairs, careful to step over the splinters and blood trails that painted my path. The door to the basement was shut again, and for a brief moment, I wondered if it had all been a nightmare. It wasn't. I reached the front door. My hand trembled as I reached for the knob. It was cold, colder than it should have been, like the house itself was trying to keep me in, but this time it opened. The morning air was sharp and smelled of dew and smoke. I stepped outside, barefoot, and ran no direction, no plan, just away. I didn't stop until I saw the roof of a neighbor's house over the trees. It was almost noon when someone finally found me on the side of the road, covered in dried blood and shaking uncontrollably. The police searched the house. The reports later said they found evidence of a violent altercation, but no bodies. My parents were gone, my sister too. No trace, no answers. Just an empty house that still stood there, silent and watchful. They took me in for questioning, treated me like a trauma victim. I was released into the care of my aunt. I never spoke about it again, until now, because last night I saw her, my sister, standing at the edge of the woods, watching me, her eyes still pitch black, her smile wide and wrong, and I swear I could hear her whisper my name. The silhouette stepped closer. Emma couldn't scream anymore. Her voice was gone, replaced with shallow, gasping breaths. Her body refused to move. Every muscle was locked in place. The attic door creaked open wider, inch by inch. The thing had no face, no eyes, but she felt it looking at her, watching, studying. The morning light should have made it weaker, made it less real, but instead, it looked more solid now. It cast a shadow that stretched unnaturally across the attic floor. The air grew colder. Emma could see her breath. Short, visible puffs. She shut her eyes tight. "Please, make it stop." Suddenly, she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was warm, human. Emma flinched and turned around. It was her father, or at least, it looked like him. His eyes were sunken. His skin looked pale and waxy, not quite right. He knelt beside her and whispered, "It won't leave unless you let it in." Emma's heart sank. "What does that mean?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer. He just stood up, walked into the light, and vanished. She was alone again, but now she understood. The thing didn't need to chase her. It needed an invitation. It fed on fear, on belief, on attention. The more she ran, the more power she gave it. And she had done exactly that, again and again. Emma stood up. She was done being afraid. "I'm not yours," she said aloud. Her voice trembled, but it was firm. "You don't belong here. Not in this world. Not in me." The shadow paused. It twitched, like it was unsure. Emma stepped toward it. "Go back, to wherever you came from." The air shifted. The darkness began to unravel. Thread by thread, it got pulled back into the corners of the attic, until there was nothing left but silence. The cold disappeared. The light came back. She was free, or at least, that's what she told herself. As she stumbled out of the attic, into a world that felt slightly off. Her house was waiting, quiet, still, but deep beneath the floorboards, a soft knocking echoed once. And then again, thank you for staying with me until the very end. If you enjoyed this chilling descent into Emma's nightmare, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Clara After Dark. I have more stories that will haunt you long after the screen fades to black. And trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. Until then, sleep with the lights on.